Fujifilm X-T5, new firmware update. I've used X-T5 with 80mm f1.4 and Fujifilm 35mm f2, and I want to share with you the results, and the results are very promising. Let's talk about this now. Hi there and welcome to my channel. My name is Tudor Matescu and I've just finished a photo walk where I've tested the new firmware for Fujifilm X-T5. I was very thrilled when I found out that X-T5 was finally updated. I watched the X Summit and I've looked at XS20, and I'll do a video about my impression about the X Summit and the new XS20. So please subscribe to my channel for more and give it a like to my video because I will show you real world results of the new AF. And why I've bring the X Summit? Because when X-T5 was launched, all the YouTubers and all the Fujifilm marketing material showed a very good AF, like a Sony AF. And now I've looked again how I've said at the X Summit for the XS20 launch, and the results with the new firmware were looking very promising. But I've said to myself, maybe who knows if the results in real world use are promising like Fujifilm is showing on the X Summit presentation. And long story short, I've installed the firmware and I've got out. And as you are able to see on the screen, I've got some good street photography pictures. So let's start first with X-T5 and 35mm f2. I've used for my first pictures X-T5 with 35mm f2 in AFC with IAF, AF plus manual F disabled, and release focus priority in AFS and AFC in focus. So the camera will take the picture, will release the shutter just when it has the focus confirmed. On my initial test, this was working and it was not working. The camera was releasing and the subject wasn't in focus. More than that, the camera had a very big lag when it was ready to release, so it wasn't working. But now I must confess that it worked great. It's working even better than my Sony a7C camera. So I feel that yes, finally Fujifilm did it. X-T5 with 35mm f2 focused with IAF in street photography with moving subjects in difficult lighting conditions, backlight, sunlight, mixed lighting conditions. Very well. It tracked the subject and released when it was needed. This video is sponsored by my site and my newsletter. On my newsletter I share tips, tricks, POVs, explain POVs, where I document all kinds of events and designs and so on that you can get and download on your computer. So please check my newsletter. You'll find the link of my newsletter in the comments and in the description. Click that link and subscribe now to my newsletter for more tips, tricks and news from me. So the results with Fujinon 35mm f2 at f2 are crazy good. I am amazed. Finally I can use X-T5 like my Sony a7C camera or even better. So here it is, Sony a7C for reference, because this Sony a7C, and as we all know, Sony cameras has great IAF. But in street photography, I'm not always preferring to use the IAF on my Sony camera because being lots of people, you don't know where the tracking and where the IAF will go. But it's working in the majority of cases without problems. But there are some cases where you have the AF where you don't want it. But on X-T5 I feel it worked better with the 35mm f2. It was tracking and it was taking the shots. So I'm very thrilled and very satisfied with the results. I was getting pictures after pictures after pictures. Next, I've said okay, with the 35mm f2 is working great. In my initial test with 35mm f2 it wasn't working great at all. I had big lag. I was hating it a lot. Now it's another total camera and another total lens. So great results, unbelievable, outstanding results. So next I've said okay, with a 50mm lens, it's working okay, the subject is isolated, maybe it's easier for the camera to track and to take pictures. Let me test it with the ultra wide angle lens, the 80mm f2, the wide angle lens that is equivalent with a 28mm f2 on a full frame camera. So I've put my 80mm f1.4 at f1.4 and shot X-T5 with this lens with AFC and the same settings like on 35mm f2. AFC focus release priority. Well, the results were again great. It was able to track and to take pictures after pictures after pictures. But being a wide lens and having more in frame, because it's a wide lens, the point was skipping from there to there in some situations, but it's not something that I could whine about regarding the AF of the camera. No, I feel that the AF, it worked great. Again, even better than on my Sony a7C. So great results, but again, it's a wide lens. Of course, you have many people with a wide angle lens. It worked great again when you are near the subject, but when you are very near the subject, I felt it had a little more lag than the 35mm f2. It's not something, again, a deal breaker. No, again, it's great. It's great. But I'm just saying, and I'm just showing you some tidbits here. So, great results with the wide angle lens, again, no problems. After that, I said, okay, I want to test the 80mm f1.4 with focus release priority, with AFC priority release set to release. So, the camera will release the shutter and take the picture, even if the camera is not confident that the subject, it will be in focus. So, the results compared to the previous firmware are great. The results are very, very good. I've got more pictures, sharp pictures with this setting. But of course, I've got some pictures that weren't in focus, but it's not a deal breaker. So if you want to be sure that you've got the shots and you are the kind of guy or girl who is shooting more by pressing the shutter release button because you want more pictures and you are okay to have some pictures out of focus, but you want to get those pictures at that time, then this is the setting for you. The results are outstanding. You will not have any complaints. But again, of course, this is a wide angle lens. Next, let me share with you my settings, because I've made some settings to the AFC tracking option. So I've set this camera on continuous auto shooting, and going to menu AFC custom settings, I set track sensitivity to +2 and speed tracking sensitivity to +1. So the settings are just in the middle. Anyway, I feel the camera is doing a great job, but another tidbit that I've observed is that the camera is totally ignoring the middle point or the zone focusing. So the camera is looking for IAF and it's ignoring the middle point or the single point or the zone focusing if you have that little square box. So it's looking at all the frame. But I don't know if this is a problem. Sony a7C is working the same. So if Sony is seeing an eye in the frame, it's going for the eye. So this could be a bummer in some street photography situation and in some events, and you would want to set a custom button to AFS when you want to use that AFS and don't want the camera to look for the IAF. So anyway, finally, Fujifilm X-T5 is at the list or above the level of Sony a7C from my experience. I don't have other Sony cameras, but Sony a7C, it is pretty good and very good, and this in photography is at least at the level of Sony a7C, if not even better, So finally, I can confidently use X-T5 with AFC and IAF without problems. Finally, we have a Fujifilm camera that will assure us that we'll have the eye in focus. These are great news and congratulations to Fujifilm, and I'm very thrilled to use this setup in street photography like this because it is a wonderful way to shoot like this. Again, I'm loving it very, very much, and again, better than Sony if you are asking me, better at this moment. Please subscribe now to my channel, give it a like, check my affiliate links and subscribe to my newsletter for more tips and tricks about Fujifilm cameras and photography. Thank you, leave me a comment and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.